Hello and welcome to the Luv Doc podcast with hosts Waldo Wachewski and Ophelia Brewski.
Imagine buying a house, right? Like a really beautiful house.
Oh yeah, like original hardwood floors, the whole thing.
Exactly. You walk in, you see these massive windows pouring in all this natural light, and you immediately fall in love.
Yep.
So you sign the papers, but like a month later, you realize the plumbing is completely shot.
Oh no.
Yeah, and the roof leaks every single time it rains, and the foundation is actually tilting.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It is. But here's the question. Do you call the contractor to fix the foundation? Or do you just, keep buying nicer, more expensive furniture to distract yourself from the slant in the living room?
I mean, it's so much easier to just buy a new rug than to admit you made a terrible investment.
Right.
We tend to fall in love with the architectural rendering of a person, like the blueprint of what they could be.
Yes.
Rather than the drafty, leaking reality that we're interacting with every single day.
Which is honestly the perfect setup for our mission today. Welcome to today's Luv Doc podcast, by the way.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
We are unpacking this highly opinionated, honestly incredibly blunt Luv Doc.
Yeah, he does not hold back.
No, he really doesn't. And he's responding to a reader who signs her letter, South Austin Sad Girl.
Right.
And by analyzing her situation, we're going to dig deep into the psychology of unequal effort, the trap of confusing potential with reality, and why dropping an ultimatum almost always blows up in your face.
And, if you are listening to this right now thinking, well, my romantic relationship is fine, so this doesn't apply to me, keep in mind that the mechanisms we're dissecting today are universal.
Totally, yeah.
Like the struggle to set actual boundaries and the sheer exhaustion of dealing with people who fundamentally refuse to step up. You will encounter these dynamics in your friendships, with your family members, and undeniably in the workplace.
Oh, the workplace, absolutely. So let's get into the anatomy of this specific undermotivated partner. Because the situation South Austin Sad Girl describes is probably going to sound pretty uncomfortably familiar to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a very common dynamic.
So she has been living with her boyfriend for almost 3 years. And she essentially acts as the sole operator of their life.
Right, the manager.
Yeah. She does the cooking, she does the cleaning, she picks up his clothes off the floor. And she is the one responsible for planning every single one of their dates.
Every single one.
Everyone. It is always her initiative.
The sheer volume of administrative labor she's carrying is just staggering. I mean, it's the second job.
It really is.
But the real psychological insight comes from his defense mechanism when she actually confronts him about this massive imbalance.
Because she does confront him.
She does. And when she expresses her frustration, his immediate reaction is anger.
Right.
He gets mad and tells her that he, quote, can't read her mind, and that if she wants him to do something, she needs to explicitly tell him what to do.
It is the ultimate bait and switch.
It really is.
He completely deflects the issue and shifts the burden of responsibility right back onto her shoulders. Instead of him taking initiative as an equal partner, she now has to become the project manager of her own household.
Right. She has to assign the tasks.
Yeah. And if you're listening right now, think about how often you've heard a coworker or a partner use that exact phrase, like, just tell me what you need me to do.
It sounds so cooperative on the surface.
It does. But it's actually this shield to deflect the mental load of anticipating needs.
Yeah, in behavioral psychology, we often discuss this under the umbrella of weaponized incompetence.
Weaponized incompetence, yes.
By claiming he doesn't know what to do, he forces her into a managerial role. And managing someone else's chores is often way more exhausting than just doing the chores yourself.
Because you have to explain it, monitor it, check if it was done right.
Exactly. So eventually she just stops asking and does it.
Wow.
Yeah. He successfully trains her to expect absolutely nothing from him.
And the proof that this is a choice on his part rather than a genuine inability is right there in her letter. She notes that he miraculously manages to come up with detailed plans and ideas when it involves hanging out with his friends.
Oh, of course.
Like, his inability to plan is entirely selective.
And that selectivity tells us everything we need to know about his incentive structure.
What do you mean by that?
Well, he possesses the executive function required to organize a night out, coordinate schedules, make reservations. He can do it.
He has the skills.
Yes. He just reserves that cognitive effort for areas where he gets immediate, novel peer validation.
Oh, I see.
With his partner, he has already secured a baseline of comfort. She's doing the cooking, the cleaning. So his internal incentive to exert any effort drops to absolute zero.
He doesn't have to win her over anymore.
Exactly. But to really understand how he got this way, the Luv Doc provides a crucial piece of background information about his development.
Yes, the Luv Doc synthesizes exactly how this guy was formed, and it's pretty wild.
It is.
He is 28 years old, but he's never actually had to take care of himself for a single day in his life.
Not once.
Growing up, his mother did all of his cooking, all of his cleaning, and all of his laundry.
Right.
His parents completely paid his way through college, and incredibly, at 28 years old, they still give him money.
They're still subsidizing his life.
Yes. They are still paying for his cell phone and his car insurance.
It's, you have to think of independence like a muscle.
Okay.
If your parents keep your arm in a cast for 28 years by preemptively solving every problem and removing every obstacle, that muscle undergoes severe atrophy.
It just wastes away.
Right. He has entirely bypassed the necessary friction points of early adulthood.
Right, like the stuff that actually makes you grow up.
Exactly. He's never had the panic of a missed phone bill, or the stress of ruining his clothes in the wash, or, the friction of negotiating shared space with a roommate.
Because mom always did it.
Right. So you cannot just take the cast off at 28 and expect him to bench press a complex domestic partnership.
Wow.
He literally lacks the psychological infrastructure to reciprocate.
It's like she bought a vintage project car. Like, she put it in her garage, bought all the polish, and she's standing there thinking, well, with a little love, this is going to run beautifully.
Just needs some elbow grease.
Exactly. But then she opens the hood and realizes the engine block is completely missing.
There's nothing there to run.
Nothing. And the sheer exhaustion of trying to drive a car with no engine is so palpable in her letter.
You can really feel it.
And when someone is drowning in that level of daily administrative fatigue, the natural reflex is to reach for the nuclear option.
Which is exactly what she proposes to the Luv Doc. She wants to pull the emergency brake.
She writes that she is considering dropping a massive threat. She wants to give him an ultimatum.
The classic ultimatum.
Right. She says he either fundamentally changes his behavior by the time their lease is up, or she is moving out. But, and this is a critical detail, she immediately undercuts her own threat in the very next sentence.
She backpedals instantly.
Yes. She admits to the author that she gets depressed even imagining a life without him, and she can't picture actually leaving.
And that internal contradiction is exactly what the Luv Doc seizes on.
Right.
He diagnoses the boyfriend perfectly, officially labeling him undermotivated. But then he gives her a very unexpected directive.
He does.
He explicitly tells her to completely drop the ultimatum. He advises against it in the strongest possible terms.
Okay, I really have to pause and push back here.
Go for it.
Because we're constantly told in modern therapy culture that we need to set firm boundaries.
Sure.
All the time. Like, if you don't step up, I'm out. That sounds like a textbook boundary to me. Why is the Luv Doc saying this is the wrong move? She is clearly at her absolute wit's end.
It's a great question. And that is a very common confusion, honestly. It's vital to separate the two concepts.
Okay, break it down for me.
A boundary is rooted in your own internal locus of control. It's about what you will do to protect yourself.
Right.
So a boundary sounds like, I cannot live in a house where I am the only one cleaning.
That makes sense.
An ultimatum, however, relies on an external locus of control. It is an attempt to force someone else to change their behavior through fear and threat.
Oh, I see the difference.
And the Luv Doc explains why this fails by introducing the concept of emotional duress.
Right. The Luv Doc points out that acts of kindness or acts of service that are performed under emotional duress are always going to be suspect.
Always.
And they are almost always temporary.
Let's just play out her scenario.
Let's do it.
She drops the ultimatum. Clean up and plan our dates, or I'm moving out.
Okay.
The boyfriend doesn't want to lose his comfortable arrangement, right? His built-in manager, the emotional safety net she provides.
Are you miffled that no one thought to buy you some flossy Luv Doc merch for your last birthday, anniversary, bat or bar mitzvah, graduation, baby or bridal shower? Your outrage is completely justified. Let it out and then get some revenge on your unthoughtful friends and loved ones by web surfing over to thepleasurecraft.com and buying all the dope merch your closets and storage spaces can hold. Remember, money is only temporary, but Luv Doc merch lasts easily a decade or so with proper care. At least that's what the merch company rep told us when he took us to that expensive strip club.
So he panics.
He scrambles.
Yes, he starts doing the dishes, he books a nice dinner, but he isn't doing those things because he suddenly values her time or because he has organically developed a sense of reciprocal responsibility.
No, he's doing it to save his own skin.
Exactly. He is doing them because there is a metaphorical gun to his head.
He's basically paying a ransom to keep his lifestyle intact. Like, it's compliance, it's not actual growth.
Exactly that. It is white-knuckling compliance. And what happens when you force a human being to alter their behavior through a threat?
They usually snap back eventually.
The Luv Doc maps out this inevitable cycle of resentment.
Right.
They will sign a new lease, believing the problem is solved. But underneath the surface, the boyfriend will become increasingly bitter about these forced chores.
Because he doesn't actually want to do them.
Right. Because he hasn't fundamentally changed, the effort requires massive amounts of willpower. And eventually that willpower will deplete and his old undermotivated baseline will just resurface.
Because you can't hold your breath forever. Eventually you just have to exhale and you revert back to who you actually are.
Well said. And when he reverts, the toxic cycle begins all over again.
Oh, man.
Only this time, they are legally locked into a brand new lease, and the resentment on both sides is significantly deeper.
So the ultimatum just traps them further.
Yeah, external threats simply do not manufacture lasting internal change.
Which leaves us with a pretty glaring question.
Yeah.
If forced compliance only breeds resentment, and ultimatums are entirely off the table, where is the solution supposed to come from?
Right. What does she do?
Because she can't just keep living like this. Which brings us to a deeply philosophical and, honestly, highly unexpected political detour in the column.
Yeah, the Luv Doc grounds his alternative solution in a very simple, well-known aphorism.
Which is?
True change comes from within.
It's a great guiding principle, but before we look at what that actually means for our letter writer, we have to talk about how the Luv Doc frames this quote.
We do.
Because he takes a massive, completely unprompted tangent.
It really comes out of nowhere.
It does. The Luv Doc notes that this specific aphorism is often credited to the spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle. But the Luv Doc explicitly chooses to attribute it to the Dalai Lama instead, who he refers to as the, quote, cheerful Tibetan.
And his justification for making that specific attribution is where the column takes a sharp, highly opinionated, and highly partisan turn.
Very partisan. I'm going to read the Luv Doc's exact reasoning here.
Okay.
The Luv Doc writes that he is making this attribution choice because, quote, DEI has been systematically erased from an appalling number of American institutions over the past year by petulant, whiny, white conservative cucks, end quote.
Wow. Okay.
We read that exact phrasing to convey the Luv Doc's highly opinionated, completely unfiltered style, which, informs how he delivers his advice.
So let's return to the core psychological premise.
Yes, let's get back to it.
If we accept the philosophy that true change must come from within, how does the Luv Doc actually apply this to South Austin's sad girl?
This is where the column throws a brilliant curveball.
It really is.
The ultimate twist in his advice is that the change from within doesn't actually need to come from the boyfriend at all.
Nope.
It needs to come from the letter writer.
It is a profound paradigm shift. The Luv Doc admits that, yes, maybe she has failed to magically inspire this guy to be a thoughtful, proactive partner.
Sure.
But that is secondary. The true fundamental issue that needs solving is her own baseline tolerance for bare minimum behavior.
What I love about this column is how direct he is with her.
He pulls no punches.
He tells her that the change she is desperately seeking has to originate within her own identity. Because right now, her identity is tied to being a person who accepts being taken for granted.
Right.
She has to structurally change who she is.
He outlines the psychological evolution she must undergo. She has to metamorphose into a person who actively refuses to be manipulated by weaponized incompetence.
Yes.
When he says, I can't read your mind, the new version of her doesn't sigh and hand him a chore chart.
Right. She doesn't play the manager.
Exactly. The new version of her recognizes there is a fundamental lack of partnership. She must become a person who simply does not accept less than she is worth.
It sounds so simple, but it's so hard.
And the hardest part of that evolution is learning not to cling to a painful present simply because she is terrified of an uncertain future.
That fear is the glue holding this whole broken dynamic together.
It really is.
She admitted it herself, right? She gets depressed even imagining life without him. But the author highlights the cognitive dissonance she is suffering from. Well, she isn't actually clinging to the 28-year-old guy sitting on her couch expecting her to do his laundry.
No.
She is clinging to the idea of him. She is holding onto her hope of the partner he might magically become 5 years down the line.
Oh, we see this all the time. It is the sunk cost fallacy applied to human emotion.
The sunk cost fallacy, yes.
When you have invested 3 years of your youth, your energy, and your care into another human being, your brain desperately fights to justify that massive expenditure.
Because you don't want to feel like you wasted your time.
Exactly. You want a return on your emotional investment.
Yeah.
So your brain invents a future version of this person that retroactively makes your present suffering worthwhile.
Wow, that is dark.
But it's true. And the Luv Doc is forcing her to sever that fantasy. She has to look at the boyfriend as he actually is today.
A drafty house.
Exactly. An enabled, undermotivated adult who has entirely outsourced his responsibilities to her.
He tells her it is abundantly clear that she is not okay with who this man is right now.
She's clearly not.
And because of that, she owes it to herself to go out and find someone who genuinely thinks she is worth the effort.
Yes.
Or, as the author beautifully phrases it, she needs to find someone for whom the effort is no effort at all.
That phrase is the antidote to her entire situation.
For whom the effort is no effort at all.
Yes. When someone actively desires to be your partner, anticipating your needs doesn't feel like a chore.
Right.
Picking up their own socks or, making a dinner reservation isn't a Herculean task that requires a lease-ending threat.
No, it's just normal.
It is just a baseline Tuesday. It is an expression of care. But, the Luv Doc is also a realist. He doesn't sugarcoat the immediate aftermath of this realization.
No, he doesn't.
Choosing herself is going to hurt.
He actually asks rhetorically in the column, will there be sadness? And he answers with a very definitive, you betcha.
You betcha.
And he warns her that the sadness will be prolonged.
It will be prolonged because unwinding a 3-year relationship is incredibly complex.
It's not just a breakup.
It's not just moving boxes.
Yeah.
It is untangling shared friend groups, inside jokes, and deeply ingrained daily routines. Like, your nervous system has adapted to having them around.
It's essentially a grieving process. But you aren't just grieving the person. You are grieving the death of the imaginary future you had meticulously planned out in your head.
Right.
And that phantom future is often harder to let go of than the actual reality of the relationship.
It is a profound loss. But the Luv Doc concludes on a note of stark optimism.
Oh.
Yeah. He asserts that ending this toxic, enabling dynamic will ultimately be the catalyst that makes them both better people.
Both of them.
Yes, even if they never speak to each other again. By walking away, she reclaims her self-worth and establishes a healthy standard for her life.
Then what about him?
Well, by being left, the boyfriend finally collides with a natural consequence for his inaction.
The cast comes off.
Exactly. Losing a great partner because he refused to step up might be the exact shock to the system he needs to finally develop those muscles of independence.
So, bringing all of these threads together, we have covered a massive amount of psychological ground today.
We really have.
We started by looking at the exhausting reality of trying to manage an adult who has been enabled his entire life and who uses weaponized incompetence to seamlessly transfer his dependency from his parents onto his partner.
And then we analyzed the fundamental flaw of the ultimatum. We broke down how external threats and emotional duress only produce temporary white-knuckling compliance.
Right.
Compliance that inevitably rots into deep-seated resentment.
And we landed on the incredibly empowering, though undoubtedly painful, realization that the only factor we can actually control is our own standard for what we will tolerate.
Exactly.
The paradigm shift that the change had to come from her internal identity rather than his behavior transforms her from a passive victim of his laziness into the active architect of her own life.
If we distill this entire analysis down to a single guiding principle, it is this. You cannot love, manage, or threaten someone into maturity.
No, you can't.
And you absolutely cannot build a stable, sustainable life balancing on the flimsy promise of someone's potential, especially when their current reality is causing you daily emotional burnout.
Which loops us right back to our original metaphor. If you buy a house and discover the foundation is sinking into the earth, rearranging the furniture or, painting the walls a different color isn't going to stop the floors from tilting.
It's just not.
You have to look objectively at the structural reality of the building you are standing in.
You must inspect the foundation exactly as it is, not as you desperately wish it were.
So we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about the rest of your day. Think about the landscape of your own life right now.
Yeah, look at your own life.
How often do you stay in a situation, whether that's a romantic relationship that feels heavy, a long-term friendship where you are doing all the reaching out, or even a job that is actively burning you out, not because of the value it brings you today, but because you are secretly mourning the loss of its potential.
That's the real trap.
If you stripped away your hope for what it could magically become tomorrow and looked strictly at the cold, present reality of today, what decisions would you make differently?
It's an uncomfortable question, but, it's the only way to find out what you were actually tolerating.
It really is. Thank you so much for joining us on this Luv Doc podcast.
To read the column that spawned this podcast, go to austinchronicle.com/columns/the Luv Doc. There are probably worse things to do with your time, right?